Welcome to the Fourth and Short podcast, the breakdown of the hottest topics on the Schuylkill League sports scene, with your hosts, Eli Doyle and Leroy Boyer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the T102sportsnow.com weekly podcast, Fourth and Short. We are live here in the Crestwell Garden section of Fountain Springs, North Schuylkill High School, Gauche Orthodontics Field at Spartan Stadium. I'm Leroy Boyer. That's Eli Doyle over there. This guy in the middle is North Schuylkill senior kicker and punter, Gavin Mener, who's having perhaps the best season ever by a kicker and a punter in Schuylkill County. I mean, there are guys that are going to throw Carson Long's name out there and some other guys, but the stats that you've put up so far, Gavin, I'll rattle them off here in a moment, but just talk about your season so far, and the numbers that you're putting up are absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, it's been an exciting season so far. I mean, for me, for the team. I came in with a lot of hope, a lot of excitement for the season. You know, last season want to go out strong. So just very excited in general for what could happen and just what has happened. I'm truly amazed and blessed to have.
So, Gavin's statistics, as his team is out here on the field practicing for Friday's District 11 Class AAA Championship game against Northwestern Lehigh at Lehighton's Multipurpose Stadium. That game is a 7 o'clock kickoff. You can listen to it live on T102 radio. Chaz Hepler, JP, and the guys will have the call live. You can click on that live link to the radio broadcast in the upper right-hand corner of the T102 Sports Now website. So if you're at work or you're on the road, click on the website and you can listen to the game if you can't get the radio station in your car or anywhere that you're at. Gavin's numbers to date through 11 games, he has made 34 of 35 extra point attempts. He's 10 for 14 in field goals, 45 touchbacks. He's also a standout punter. The punt net is like on my other sheet, but it's like 40 yards per punt. He's banged home field goals so far this year of 49, 20, 26, 29, 27, 51, 26, 33, 29, 30, and 23. And in addition to all that, recovered an onside kick last week and ran the football on a fake punt 2 yards for a first down. Let's talk about Friday's game with the onside kick and stuff. You told me after the game that you guys practice it all the time but never did it. And then not long after that, you run a fake punt, which you said you practice all the time but never did it. So just how was that? That was really cool.
It was just an exciting moment in general. I mean, to start off with, the onside kick to start off the half. I mean, we were down 7-3. We needed to get some energy moving forward. I know Coach Hall came in the huddle and told me. I asked him. I said, "What kick do you want?" He goes, "Let's try our onside." He goes, "I have trust in you." So it was an exciting moment for me, exciting moment for the team. The fake punt, it kind of caught me off guard when he said it, but I was super excited to do it. I mean, just going out there, being able to run the football. I know a lot of kickers, a lot in the country, don't even get the chance to even kick field goals or do any of this. And my coaches put trust in me to kick field goals, run the ball, do onside kicks. So overall, speechless about what happened, speechless of the opportunities that they gave me.
So I know a lot of you are looking at Gavin and going, well, the kid's pretty built. Why doesn't he run the football or play another position besides kicker or punter? He is listed at 6'1", 210. You have a medical condition, though, that prevents you from doing that. Explain what that is, what it's called, and why you ended up being a kicker and a punter just to play football.
So the condition is known as Kawasaki's disease, and basically I have 2 aneurysms in my body, one in my armpit, one, I believe, closer to my heart. It's a vascular condition. So what happens is as blood goes through, it's almost like a pocket it could catch and cause a blockage. So I take blood thinners in order to counteract those blockages. The reason I became a kicker was, as you go up through, you're not going to be the biggest guy. I mean, in midgets, I was more of a bigger guy, but going through junior high and high school, I wasn't going to be that big guy anymore. I was going to take bigger hits, get a lot more bruises, and it would be overall more dangerous. So my doctors basically said after 6th grade, he won't be able to play football. And I remember having a meeting with my family. I was very upset, and pulled up the idea about what about kicking and punting. Kickers never get hit. They rarely hit. pull up with the doctors. They go, let's see how it works, and the rest is history.
So that's taking place all the way back in what, 6th grade?
Absolutely, yeah.
So roughly, I don't know, like 12 years old, 9,
Yeah.
maybe somewhere in that range. So fast forward down the line, and my people who know me know I have to ask you this question when I get to talk to a kicker punter, somebody who's really good at it, and you. Does the name Pat McAfee ring a bell?
Absolutely. He's one of my idols.
Absolutely. So I am kind of that first generation Pat McAfee watcher, okay, when he first started coming up and everything. And everybody always said, the kicker, the punter, you don't want to hear him talk. You don't want to hear him do that. Talk a little bit more just about the chemistry between you and the coaching staff here. What's it like having a coach that kind of has that faith in you? And how in going forward, how have kickers, how have they inspired you over the years?
I mean, talking about the coaching staff providing me opportunities, it's amazing. I mean, I've looked up to Coach Hall. I've looked up to this staff since I've been really young. I looked up to this team since I was really young. I actually remember writing a letter out to Coach Hall back in elementary school. So the fact that in high school now, getting the chances, the opportunities to kick these long distance kicks, the runs, the punts, they've been putting their faith in me to win games, to help them win games and potentially a championship. An awesome feeling. And my idols like Pat McAfee, Justin Tucker, those guys are relentless in what they do. They work hard every single day in their lives, and it just inspires me to be the best that I can be every single day.
Talk about kicking in the clutch. So North Schuylkill opened the scoring against Notre Dame Green Pond last Friday night. You kick a field goal early because the drive stalls. You go 3-0. Then at the end of the game, North Schuylkill with a chance to score a game-winning touchdown, come up a little short. You come in and hit the kicking. Everybody kind of knew if North Schuylkill doesn't get a touchdown, they're at least going to get a field goal try. A lot of teams don't have that opportunity, but I think it was a 23-yarder at the end of regulation to force overtime. As that drive is progressing, what's going through your mind? I mean, you were warming up here and there, and then you were walking up and looking at the plays, and then, do you realize, hey, it's going to come down to me? How do you talk yourself through mentally?
So basically, the mental game, I knew I had to calm myself down. I'm a very energetic guy on the sideline, so I know that number one was just to calm myself down, realize that I have a job to do. My job is to make kicks for my team and potentially take us further in the playoffs. So I knew if I miss that field goal, it might be the season. So I have to calm myself down, understand. Like I said, I have a job to do, and just roll through it.
Tell me a little bit more about, what it takes from the mental side going out there to do things like kick and punt, especially when you have a coaching staff that has that kind of faith in you to perform at a higher level than maybe, the average team's kicker punter. Just tell me what goes through your head when you go out there to line up for a field goal or you guys are backed up and you have a long punt and you're trying to get off here.
I mean, first goes, I got to just get Mentzer ready. I'm like, okay, where are we at? Like, if it's a field goal, just see where we're lined up at. Do I need to drive the ball more? Do I need to heighten the ball more? Not to get a block. If it's a punt, just realizing what play we're calling, if I need to direct it somewhere, if I need to aim it somewhere. But if I get out there, like if we're going through a field goal, I remember actually before our scrimmage, I didn't have a really good scrimmage. I missed a lot of kicks during our scrimmage, and my coach came up to me, Coach Anthony Russo, our defensive coordinator, comes up to me and goes, what's going on out there? I'm like, I can't just focus on one kick. And he goes, name me 3 things that you do in your kick. Head down, fall through, stay straight. He goes, say that to yourself every kick. So every kick I go out there, I line myself up, take a deep breath, say head down, fall through, stay straight.
Just like a rinse and repeat process,
Absolutely,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
So we're not going to make a shameless promotion for you, but we are. You have colleges calling, teams looking at you. You were all over the place at national camps. You've won some national recognition for your kicking. Talk to me about the college process. And if you're a college coach looking at him right now in our podcast, because we know you are, and you want, hey, give me a great punting video on this kid. The punt he kicked in the second quarter against Notre Dame Green Pond that had a hang time of just short of a helicopter and landed at about the 8-yard line was probably the best coffin corner type punt that I've seen by a high school kid ever. So just talk to us about your college plans, your college recruitment so far, and where does it kind of go from here once the season's over?
I mean, kickers aren't highly recruited during the season or like their underclassmen years. So right now, I mean, I have a couple offers right now, some walk on, one scholarship. So it's been a little bit tough, but I do want to play for a team that's going to give me that scholarship. Play high level of football, and I know the teams that offer me do play high level of football. And some teams actually want me to go as a punter, but some teams also say, hey, we like you as a combo guy, like as a kicker and a punter. So, I mean, what I'm looking for is just say who's going to put me on the field, and how are they going to utilize me? Are they going to utilize me enough, or are we just going to like second guess ourselves on it?
So we're going to do something different with our podcast this week. You know, for 10, 11 weeks, however long we've been doing this, we've had guests on, and then Eli and I talk, but we're going to have like a presentation, a how-to of field goal kicking. So when we come back after this break, we're going to go live onto the field, and he's going to show us the art of how to kick a successful extra point and field goal. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back here on the turf at Gauche Orthodontics Field at Spartan Stadium. Gavin Mentzer, Leroy Boyer, Fourth and Short podcast, our how-to segment of the podcast this week. Gavin's going to show us how to kick an extra point and everything that goes into the art of it. So we have the ball here at the 10-yard line. We got a practice holder. We didn't ask you this upstairs here, but is there anybody you want to give credit to, or how did you perfect all this?
I mean, my private kicking coach, John Zima, he's taught me everything I know. I'm fully grateful for everything that he's done for me, whether it was through kicking, teaching me my technique, everything that I need to do to become a great kicker, and the recruiting process. So I appreciate everything that he's done for me.
Okay, so North Schuylkill scores a touchdown. Everybody's celebrating, going bonkers, the band's playing. You come running out, the holder's kneeling down right here. Kind of talk to Eli and just, hey, all right, so I'm going to take 5 steps back, 5 steps. You go take it from here, and if you want to kick one, go ahead.
So first thing what I do is I set up. I tell my holder where I want the ball spotted. I'll set him up. He'll spot it down. I'll check myself one time, make sure I'm square with the goalpost. Put my foot behind. Come back 3 steps. I'll come back here. I'll check myself again, make sure my foot's through the seam of the ball, up through the post. Come back down. I'll drop an invisible string from my left hand. I'll go over 2 steps where that invisible string would drop. And I turn and face my ball, turn and point, as Coach Zima would say. I then check myself a third and final time, going through the ball, make sure my leading foot's pointed towards the ball, make sure my hips and my shoulders are aimed towards the post. I'll then make a mental note on where I should take my jab step, a 6-inch jab step where I'll get my power from. So I'll take my jab, another step up. I'll come up, I'll open my hips up by bringing my arm out and pretend there's a clock around me. I'll open it up to 9 o'clock. And then when I come through, I'll slam my arm to 3 o'clock. I'll aim my foot down, toe in the turf, along the big toe tendon, find the sweet spot of the ball, come up and through, skip all the way through, toe to the target.
We're back here on the T102sportsnow.com weekly podcast, Fourth and Short. Eli Doyle, Leroy Boyer. Great job by Gavin Mener, showing the art of kicking an extra point / field goal. One of the best to ever do it around here, in my opinion. Let's hope he has a couple chances on Friday night to do a couple more for North Schuylkill and maybe the week beyond. North Schuylkill is one of several teams still in action. There are 6 teams of our area's 16 that are still alive. As we get to week 12, let's go through we'll go bracket by bracket. How about we do that?
Sounds
so the Class A sub-regional, District 211 sub-regional in the semifinals, it was number 1 Lackawanna Trail 47, number 4 Nativity 20, and then number 2 Tri-Valley on the grass turf there at Higgins shuts out Marion again for the second time this year. 27-0 the Dogs win. So they win the District 11 championship because they are the last District 11 team standing. They played Lackawanna Trail on Friday night. They got to go to Lackawanna Trail again because Lackawanna Trail is the top seed. You were at Scenic Lackawanna Trail for the Nativity game. Thoughts on the Nativity game, and then just look ahead to that Class A final.
Well, Lackawanna Trail, referencing some other people that were at the game, they kind of remind you of a Schuylkill Haven team to an extent. They're gonna power run the ball down your throat, whether you like it or not. They're coming right at you. Nativity went into the game hoping to get back some key players from injury that happened over the course of the last few regular season weeks this season. They did get them back in spurts, but just as fast as they got them back, they seemed to lose guys here and there, and it just didn't go the Green Wave's way. They did find their offense a little bit in the second half. They came out. Sam Walborn was able to trot off some tough runs for the Green Wave. Quarterback Benny Kreitzer found Mikey Stank a couple times before he went down for an injury. So, a rough week of sledding for the Nativity Green Wave. But if you're Lac Trail, you got everything you want in front of you. You just got to keep doing what you do. Pound the ball in the trenches.
In the Nativity, we've talked a lot about them as the season went on and how talented their skilled position kids were. And then, that their linemen, when we were at Nativity, we had Mark Kimmel with us. He's a big boy. And, their line did a great job. But the great equalizer in the small school level is injuries. And unfortunately, Nativity had way more than everybody else.
Yeah.
And, when you have the caliber of athletes that they do that got hurt, it's hard to maintain the level of success through 11 and 12 weeks. And unfortunately, Pat Mason's club, found that out against Marion, a game that if they would have won, would have gotten them a first-round home game. And then they could still be alive maybe, this week if they were totally healthy. But, hey, fate has it that, they're out in week 11.
And I want to give a special shout-out. You talked about the trench play. Andrew Verchek for the Nativity Green Wave had a stellar game both ways on the ball up front in the trenches, held it down for a while in there, kept the game relatively close before Lac Trail just started ripping off big run after big run in the second half. So
what does Tri-Valley have to do to beat Lackawanna Trail? Tri-Valley shuts out Marion for the second time this season, gets a big win, bounces back from a 50-point loss in week 10. Credit to the Dogs, District 11 champs. They have weapons. What do they got to do to beat Lac Trail?
They got to be tough in the trenches. Look for the Dogs to put 7-8 guys in the box all night long, bring their safeties up. They have to really, really, really shut down this inside run game of Lac Trail if they want to have any success. Make them put the ball in the air. They put the ball in the air once against Nativity, incomplete. Make them put the ball in the air. They have skill position guys. They have a ton of running backs they're just going to run through. Got to make them put the ball in the air.
Class AA, we have two teams still alive. In quarterfinal action on Saturday night, it was Schuylkill Haven all over Palisades, 64-14. And probably one of the biggest upsets of the district playoffs in week 11 was Executive Education 26, Minersville 6. It was Penn Argyl, another big upset, the 6th seed, knocking off number 3 Northern Lehigh 32-14. And then number 2 Williams Valley, they continued to roll. They beat Mono Area 60-13. That sets up Saturday night semifinals, still at the higher seeded sites. It's number 5 Executive Education at number 1 Schuylkill Haven. That's a 6 o'clock game on the turf at Rotary Field. And then number 6 Penn Argyl makes the trek to Williamstown in between the Pines. They face Williams Valley. That's a 6:05 start because that game is on Astound TV, which I've never heard of before. The Williams Valley game is on T102. The Schuylkill Haven game is on WPPA, where Eli will be the sideline guy. I was the sideline guy at Schuylkill Haven last week. And let me tell you, Schuylkill Haven, we'll start with them. Leighton Hurst takes the kickoff back before I could even get all my radio things hooked up. Having some issues, but pregame, look up, he's in the end zone. So, but yeah, they just physically manhandled Palisades. Palisades was successful. They're a young team. When we sit here next year and talk about teams, Palisades will be a team to watch in the white division because they had like 4 seniors who played. That was it. And they have a gigantic kid who's 6'5", 380, plays on the line, can't play the whole game because of, he just physically couldn't handle the endurance. But all their skilled kids are underclassmen. Some speed. Their quarterback didn't look too bad, but They were no match physically for Schuylkill Haven. Nico Carastilla, 300-plus yards, several touchdowns. Nico Castillo had a big touchdown run. Colton Reber, Adam Belulis were all over the place on defense. It was all Haven all the time. You saw Executive Ed Minersville. In my opinion, Minersville's Achilles heel all year was that they couldn't run the football. They couldn't run it against Executive Ed, and it came back to haunt them.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a good job of spying quarterback Dante Carr and not letting him get out of the pocket. You know, they didn't just play contained the whole time. They did rush him, but they also had that spy on him at all times, kind of hovering around to see where he went. Actually, out of the second half, Leroy, the Miners pounded the ball a little bit on the ground. They came up, they got stopped down deep in their end zone, then a penalty knocked them back even farther, and on a fourth down play, they turned the ball over. So there was, for a sliver of time, there was an ounce of we can move the ball here. Executive came into the game as a ghost team. We talked about this on Touchdown Tips.
We talked about it last week here.
If you happen to listen to the T102 broadcast of the game last week, Mr. Powers did a very good job of describing, everything that comes with Executive Ed. We'll just leave it at that. So for Haven, this is about managing your emotions, and you need to manhandle this team. They were not the most technically sound in the middle here. They had some big boys, but they were not fundamental in the middle. They outsized Minersville up front. They play basketball on turf, as Chaz and JP kept saying. They're gonna run this way and then run back this way and try to break a lane somewhere, okay, and hope you don't make a tackle. So for Schuylkill Haven, the key is the physicality. Keep being physical, keep hitting these skill position players, and keep being physical in the trenches.
And tackle. That's a key for Schuylkill Haven. They have the speed as well on the outside. Layden Hurts, Colton Reber, some other guys in the mix that are in the secondary there, but you got to tackle. If those guys playing linebacker and play up front miss the quarterback, don't get the sack, don't get the tackle for loss, and he gets loose, the potential for a big play is there. Will be interesting to see, how now everybody saw Executive Ed. Everybody knows what they have. They're on film. Everybody saw them in person. So the ghost is now a physical human being. So we'll see how Haven handles that and maybe the adjustments that Executive Ed changes. Williams Valley, let's talk about them. They have been one of the hottest teams in every facet of the game, maybe since they lost to Schuylkill Haven in Week 5. And even before then, they were red hot. Fletcher Thompson, freshman running back, he's having a monster season.
Outstanding.
Picking up the next great Williams Valley running back. Brady Schomper might be the comeback player of the year because this was a kid who, in the playoffs last year, they took him out. When they wanted to throw the ball, they took him out. And now this year, he's over 2,000 yards passing, lighting it up with almost 30, I think it was over 30 touchdowns he has now. And he's running the football. And the perfect description, I talked to some people, earlier this week about different things. And one of the coaches that I talked to about Williams Valley said their offense is just perfect in motion. Like the way their line blocks, the way Schomper follows the blocks, the way they're running, it's like poetry in motion almost is the best way to describe it. They're not the gigantic line. They're not North Schuylkill's behemoths that are out here in front of us, but they know who to block and when to block, and the running backs and quarterback know where they're supposed to go, and it's perfect rhythm. And they've been in perfect rhythm for 6-7 weeks now.
Yeah.
So Williams Valley plays Penn Argyl, a team that has stumped us all year in the touchdown tips.
Started.
We all took Northern Lehigh in that game. Because why? Well, because Northern Lehigh beat them in week 3 or 4 when we had all taken Penn Argyl. And we're like, well, we're not making the same mistake. And then we make the same mistake and Penn Argyl wins. Penn Argyl was not big up front. They had some talented kids skilled-wise. The quarterback wasn't bad. But I think Williams Valley got to be a prohibitive favorite here in this game.
This one's going to be a no-brainer. I will give you my touchdown tip pick early here. I'm taking Williams Valley.
Well, not that I'm ever going to take Penn Argyl over Williams Valley, but that's a good pick.
Thank you.
Great analysis, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's look at AAA, where North Schuylkill, they're practicing right out here in the most dramatic game. I told the guy from Eastern PA, Dave, does a great job. Micah, sorry, I forgot his last name. Dave Micah, sorry about that. History was made. State football history was made in that game. It's the only time you'll ever see a team beat the same team twice in one season on a walk-off touchdown. It happened right here. It happened right in that end zone in front of us when Luke Miller did it, in week 3. Late pass at the end of the game as the time expired. North Schuylkill wins 31-29. We talked with Gavin Mener. That game was back and forth. There was a lot of ebbs and flows, lots of key penalties, key turnovers, key missed opportunities by both teams. And again, Notre Dame, with the football, chance to ice the game, could not run it. North Schuylkill's defense stood up to the challenge, got a quick 3-and-out after they cut it to 3 points, was able to put together a drive and force overtime. And then in overtime, key play by David Martinez, defensive end, came through and got a tackle for loss that forced a little bit longer pass on 3rd down, and the pass was incomplete. Good pressure up front from North Schuylkill. They settle for the field goal. They go up 23-20. Caden Mengel and Caden Knox, one of the offensive tackles, went to Pete Stanakis, the offensive coordinator, and said, this is the play we should run. And they're like, okay, go ahead, run it. Execution perfect. 10-yard touchdown. The place goes bonkers. You can see the video of that play on T102 Sports Now and on the T102 Sports Now YouTube channel, which we have. All of the videos and interviews that we do over the course of the season and our podcast is on that YouTube channel. So if you're just, playing around on your phone and you want to hit YouTube up, hey, check our stuff out. It's all
and plenty of more good content, too. I mean, we have the Alfredo McCurry, Mike Brennan show, and then we also have In the Eye of the Hurricane with quarterback Braden Foshnot of the Schuylkill Haven Hurricane. So a ton of good stuff on that YouTube channel. Check it out.
So the Spartans now play Northwestern Lehigh for the championship. Northwestern Lehigh juggernaut all season long.
Yep.
The only time they were tested was week 10 against Southern Lehigh, a game they won 23-17. They decked Saucon Valley 40-12 in the other semifinal. This game's Friday night at Lehighton. All the championship games in District 11 are neutral site. This game is at Lehighton, a 7:10 start. You can see it live on Blue Ridge Cable TV 13, which in the North Schuylkill area you can see on Service Electric Cable. I do not know the channel. I want to say 80, but I think I'm wrong. So it's on Service Electric Cable. So if you're from the area and you can't make the game here in the scenic Fountain Springs area, you can tune in on Service Electric. The game will also be live on T102 and Penn Sports Radio. So, and I'll be there. Bob Lipsky will be there. So we'll have live updates, video and photos from the game. Northwestern Lehigh has just been tough on everybody all year long. What do you foresee for North Schuylkill? What do they got to do? I mean, Luke Miller did not play. We don't know his status for that game, whether he's going to play. Concussions, sustained against Pottsville week 10. Without him, Angel Ortiz, Colton Joyce did a nice job running the football, gaining yards when they need to, and then Mengel with his feet gain yardage when he had to. North Schuylkill is going to have to kind of put it all together.
Yeah, absolutely. And the target has to be on Northwestern Lehigh's tailback, Eli Zimmerman, right? They have to know where he's at all times. They cannot let him get out of an arm's reach, or he can take the whole field if it's in front of him. So that's my key for the Spartans. They have to zone in on him defensively.
My key for North Schuylkill would be they need to block up front. We've talked all year long about how big North Schuylkill is up front. And their line is 310, 300, 305, 290, 295, etc. across the front. But Northwestern Lehigh has some big boys up front as well. The Riker kid is an all-state tackle. They have a linebacker who shot the gap several times against Pottsville, got tackles for loss. They got to, create running lanes in that defense to, be successful. So the key for me would be to block up front. Good luck to the Spartans. We did some figuring in the Wally Hall era, which is 10 years here at North Schuylkill. This will be the 8th time that they played for a district championship of some sort. In 2013, they lost to Northwestern Lehigh in the Eastern Conference Final. In 2014, they lost to Northwestern Lehigh in the District 11 Final. And then they had that big run there, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and now 24, where they kind of went, they beat Notre Dame Green Pond, lost to Tamaqua, beat Notre Dame Green Pond again, beat Jim Thorpe, and then lost last year in the finals to Northwestern Lehigh. 0 for 3 so far against Northwestern Lehigh in championship games, and maybe the 4th time is the charm.
Absolutely. Could be.
So we go to Class 4A. We're not going to really touch too much on Class 5A and Class 6A because we don't really have teams in there.
Yeah.
So our viewership, East Stroudsburg South is the team to beat in 5A. They should beat Whitehall. And then the semifinals in 6A are Easton Emmaus, Parkland Freedom. That's great conversation for all the Lehigh Valley people because those teams are pretty good. In 4A, however, we had another gigantic upset. Number 7 Lehighton comes to Blue Mountain and, gamble upon gamble by Tom McCarroll rolls the dice and gets like snake eyes every time, like sixes upon sixes. Just whatever number he needed, he got. Onside kick, successful. Score late in the game, got it. Go for two, got it. Kid wide open. Hard for Blue Mountain, tough finish for them after a gigantic start. But Lehighton did everything right in that game.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to see it, but it felt like it was Lehighton's game from the get-go. They felt like they had the momentum early. Scoring touchdown, onside kick, scoring another touchdown. Getting the ball again. It felt like it was their game early, but then Blue Mountain marched back in there quickly. I mean, I don't know what it was exactly that got Blue Mountain back in that game. I'm going to guess it was a heavy dose of Tyler Staley. I could be wrong about that.
So a couple of things happened on Blue Mountain's side in the positive ledger in that game. So 21-7 Lehighton at the half. Blue Mountain seniors didn't really go anywhere at halftime for about 3-4 minutes. There was like a little meeting on the field, like almost a come-together meeting. This is what we need to do. This is what we have to do. And they came out right off the bat. Long kickoff return by Gage Gears. Pass to Chase Gears for a touchdown. And then Tyler Staley scored a couple of touchdowns. They got some interceptions. Josh Hoover had a big pick. They had some defensive plays. They just couldn't get the stop on the last. They went up 28-21 with 5 minutes left to play in the game. Just couldn't get the defensive stop that they needed. Pass interference penalty in the end zone didn't help. Little blown coverage on the 2-point conversion. It's hard when you watch a video of a play and there's a receiver catching the ball and there's a whole bunch of defenders around him. That's tough for a losing team to accept. Somebody should have had him, but somebody didn't. He sat down right in the middle of everybody, and Jace Lawrence found him. He had a tremendous game. So Lehighton advances. They play Bethlehem Catholic, who beat East Stroudsburg North 42-7. That game is Thursday night, 6:35 at Bethlehem Area School District Stadium. That game is live on Blue Ridge Cable for those in the Lehighton area. 6:35 start. Crimson Tide of Pottsville. Go to J. Burney Crum Stadium. Not the best place to play in the world. Comes out with a win. 14-7 Crimson Tide. Juju Bainbridge has a monster game. A couple of defensive guys for Pottsville have a big game. You were there.
Yeah.
Crimson Tide, regardless of what happens on Thursday, that win in itself is a program builder for Mike Brennan in his first year.
Yeah. It's just as a Pottsville graduate, honestly, it's been a while since we've gone down and beaten ACC. Not handily, but we've came out of there with a victory. So it was a great game to watch. There wasn't a lot of scoring. If that's the kind of football you're into, you showed up to the wrong game. It was a 14-7 finish. Pottsville did exactly what they had to do down Cyrell Curry at receiver and safety. Pottsville was good in the trenches. Defensively in the trenches, Talal White, another big game. Luke Shane, a big game. Linebackers. Braden Evans and Brody Herndon, big game. Brody Herndon walks out of there with a big interception. Helped the Tide flip the momentum there late in the game when it felt like ACC was marching. So, a big night all around, and they got a lot of help from some of those younger guys, some of them sophomores too. From starts with the quarterback, Andrew Allen, and, moves around Max Clues, Shea Strenkowski. They got a lot of help where they needed it on the field that night.
2019 was the last time Pottsville made a deep postseason run. If you recall, a win over Allentown Central Catholic was in that run. Also a win over Bethlehem Catholic. All those games were at Pottsville on the grass. These games are on the turf. It was good to see the Crimson Tide win that year. If you remember, Pottsville had a 3-touchdown lead and almost a 4-touchdown lead over Jersey Shore in the first round of state playoffs and just couldn't hold on late and ended up losing that game in, I believe, triple overtime to Jersey Shore. That was the last time Pottsville made a deep run. Can they make another deep run? They're going to be facing a Southern Lehigh team that they've already played. So it's not like you're facing an unfamiliar foe. And that game was a game. I mean, it was a 32-23 final score.
Yeah.
A game Pottsville was in. Early pick six touchdown called back by a penalty that no one saw. No one still knows where the penalty came from. The kids told me that in school. Phantom penalty.
Bob Lipsky told me that after the game.
Phantom penalty cost us a touchdown. And the key to that, it's one touchdown, you lost by 9 points. No, the momentum Pottsville had at that point in the game.
Or it was
if
early.
Pottsville comes out and scores early or gets a key turnover or stop, Southern Lehigh's got lots of weapons. Sean Steckert, the running back. Andrew Olish is going to Michigan or maybe not going to Michigan. Heard he went to Notre Dame on a visit, so maybe you'll get lucky, your Irish fans. And their quarterback, Colton Sams has had a great year, throwing for a lot of yards, has a lot of weapons. This is at Southern Lehigh. The last time that I was at a Pottsville at Southern Lehigh game was back when Travis Blankenhorn was playing. That's how long ago it was. And it didn't turn out that well for the Crimson Tide that night. What does Pottsville have to do to win?
In my opinion, Pottsville needs to, contrary to their last game against Southern Lehigh, which I told you I thought was the Sean Stecker real hey, I'm here game for Southern Lehigh. I think they have to do a better job this game of certainly bottling up. He went over 100 on the ground. It felt like when they needed the tough yards, they gave it to him, and he got it with almost ease. They did a good job of locking down those receivers and Olish, but they need to do a better job of bottling up that run. On the flip side, they need to get Cyrell Curry in this game early, offensively. Get him the ball early.
Pottsville has, I teach at Pottsville, no secret there. Talking to the kids, the message was, if you believe it, you can make it happen. And this is one of those deals where I think if they go into the game with the mindset that we can win this game, and this is what we have to do to win this game, the result can be a positive one. So we'll see how the Crimson Tide fare. The winner of the Pottsville Southern Lehigh game and the winner of the Bethlehem Catholic Lehighton game, they square off in the championship game next weekend. The District 11 has not set a date, time, or place for that. It'll be a neutral site. Rumors have it that it will not be Thursday, that they'll move it to a Friday or Saturday to maximize, TV possibilities, only because there's only going to be 3 District 11 games next weekend. The other 3 brackets will all be in the state playoffs, so they'll be in different locations where, more District 11 officials will be available for the championship game. So less games on particular nights, have it on a Friday or Saturday instead of making it on a Thursday. So we'll find out. You can track all of our coverage of the football playoffs, of the Tri-Valley girls volleyball team still alive in the state playoffs. Shout out to Courtney Scheib and her squad for winning their first round state playoff game.
Callie and Faith Malochek, Liv Loophole, Ellie Dunkelberger, all the girls there. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
So they play Saturday morning. We'll have coverage of all of the football games, involving our area teams this week. We'll have coverage of the Lady Dogs in the state volleyball playoffs. And of course, the Pottsville Broadcasting Network of radio stations, WPPA and T102 will have a game, all throughout the Pottsville will be on PPA, Nativity, but the Lac Trail game you'll be at will also be on PPA. Schuylkill Haven will be on PPA on Saturday. Williams Valley will be on T102. North Schuylkill will be on T102. Again, you can access the live feeds of those radio broadcasts from the T102 Sports Now website in the little boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Just hit listen live right there. It takes you right to their site. Takes you right to a little button you click on and bang. I will say this much. I was listening to the Penn State broadcast on WPPA on the app on my phone, and it was still ahead of the TV broadcast that was on at the place I was at Saturday. So you won't be behind the action compared to anybody else. You'll get it just as quick as media services. Obviously, TV's a delay. Radio is not. Radio's live. So it's great that the Pottsville Broadcasting Company can broadcast these games and bring them to the local fans who can't make the trek.
Absolutely.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Fourth and Short podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully talking about some teams with some playoff victories. For Eli Doyle, I'm Leroy Boyer. Thanks for watching.